Cool. Looks like we have someone new also. Alec, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, sure. I'm Alec. I'm looking at uh, so I've applied and I got a link in terms of following this call to get to know everyone and watch how the team interacts. And it would be a lot of fun just to be a lurker for a meeting.
Sure. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, your name's familiar. That you're the one that's working on the jobs page right now, correct?
Yep, that's correct. Number
Cool.
82.
Awesome. Great. I'm glad you're here with us
Welcome.
today. Yeah, welcome.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. Well, we can dive into some of it. Let me pull up the agenda real quick. I guess I need to put my glasses on so I can actually read. Um, cool. So yeah, we typically start these meetings off with just talking about some of the new contributors and some of the big commits for the week. So I'll just run through that real quick. NFH bar, new contributor, added all of the mocks for the market protocol. So now all the issues with the Solidity coverage that we spent hours and hours debugging are fixed, which is really nice. Uh, P. Filippi 24 helped us with some cleanup of the contract deployer in the D app. Dilate Brave created a new flow for the simplified contract deployer and did a really awesome job with that. So he's both in the new contributor column and the big commits for the week column. Just a really nice way of being able to create contracts in the D app with minimal intervention and basically just a really simplified flow for new users. And so that's going to be pretty awesome once it gets integrated. And then Captain Seagraves, he helped us with some of the Solidity coverage issues and figuring out what the root cause of kind of all of the testing errors were. So that's great too. And then only other one I want to mention, the big commits column was a Crypto Mental. He's done a ton this week just in terms of upgrading Solidity as well as adding some pretty great readmes to how to run Docker with that code base. So I really appreciate all of that.
Hey, Phil, quick question.
Yeah.
On earlier in the week we talked about the workaround for the whitelisting,
Yeah.
and I saw some chatter. It sounded like maybe some of the gas costs would still be prohibitive. Is that true, or did you get that work out?
So it's all worked out. So the factory is implemented. I'm working on integrating that piece into the D app for the deployment. So that should all be good to go.
So the because I yesterday I pulled down the latest commits on master for the market protocol, and it seemed to have some of what I thought was in there. Is that true? Is master updated or?
Yeah, master's
Okay.
updated. I created a release using Patrick's new make file. So it took me a few tries. So the release never got bumped a couple times in there. But yeah, so there's a new release, which I think is now 0028, and it has all of that functionality in there. All of the tests in there are working for it. So it's just a matter of integrating it now into the D app, which I've created a branch to do that. And made some progress. We'll probably make more progress on that today.
Okay.
All right, so just to finish, last big commit of the week also was I am Anua. He helped us a lot with the about page for the static website, which Nitin is making a few changes to, and then that'll get integrated also to the static site. So pretty excited about that. Okay, so that's all of that stuff. And then I guess we can just go over some of the to-do list from last week, which Anderson's not. I don't think he's going to be able to make it. He flew to Bucharest, I think yesterday or something like that. So he's pretty jet lagged. He said. All right. So the contributor guidelines for other repos than DApp. I'm not really actually sure where that's at the moment. Does anyone want to comment on that?
Are you talking about updates?
Yeah, I'm not even. Yeah,
Okay.
right. So where that's at, I know that Eswald had done that for the DApp. I have not done it for the website or the market protocol
Yeah.
Solidity
So
repo either.
for website, it's pretty much similar to what DApp contains. So like I think we can just simply use the same format. But I'm not sure about market protocol or like. So the only difference between across all the repos would be majorly around code guidelines, like the code style basically. So I think like Robert and you can divide between the market API, market.js, and market protocol. So
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna make it. I'm not sure if Anderson's gonna be able to take any minutes or not, but I'm gonna make an action item for that then, so that me and Robert get to that this week for the different repos.
sure, you can add a website for me. I can take care of it. I was planning to do that, but got pulled around.
Cool.
Now we're talking more than just the linting and the code guidelines, correct?
Yeah, so the contributing guidelines for the DApp contains everything. So basically, like starting from the user cloning the repo and setting up locally, till like he raises a PR. So the difference across all the repos will majorly be around the style and linting, because
Got it.
rest all steps are kind of same. The way he clones, the way the PRs, PR should be raised, the guidelines, etc. So
Okay. Those guidelines.
yeah.
Got it.
Cool. All right. Patrick, do you want to talk about SEO and where that's at?
Yeah, sure. So we've been tracking the rankings on this spreadsheet, and when we first started, I've added the averages. So when we first started, the average rank on Google was around 33, and it drifted down to 15 after the first round of changes. Got as low as 14 and has come back up slightly. So it's pretty much stabilized, I think, with the changes that have been made. So now I think we have to decide if we want to tackle some of the more significant structural changes. I also did a little bit of research and maybe have some improvements we can make if we keep content in PDFs. There are some guidelines. Those used to not be considered not really indexable, but the recent engines from Google do weigh that content, and there's actually some guidelines for improving the visibility of content in PDFs. We talked about the newsletters, posting those to the site. Beyond that, actually bringing up some of the content. There's so much quality content in the white paper. We could potentially populate some pages in the site with that and probably improve our keyword hits, especially on some of the little bit more esoteric searches that don't include the word market and so forth. So I think those are the next steps. I can open a couple of issues around the PDFs and some more detail on the issue for structure if we want to go that route.
Yeah, I think the PDF thing makes a lot of sense, right? Obviously, they're just like it's just like tags essentially on the PDF itself.
Yeah, it has to do with naming, linking, and also even optimizing, since they use the same algorithms on pages like load time, mobile friendliness, and things on PDF content. So it could also involve some formatting in the PDF.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's a great place to start. We're able to get that indexed, I think that'll probably be a pretty great source of content. And the other side of it is kind of the newsletters and all the Medium posts and everything like of that nature too, which I think is kind of a bigger issue, obviously. So yeah, I'm still trying to kind of figure out like where to kind of prioritize that with some of the other business needs. So definitely on the radar for sure, to try to figure out how to best integrate all those pieces. So yeah.
Cool.
And then also I'm speaking, I guess someone had reached out to me and just put me in contact with someone who does some SEO type consulting work. I think I have a call with them later today just to, they asked for a meeting and they had like an analysis of the site already done. So I think I'm going to get on a call with them later today and just kind of understand their point of view on it and what they think can be improved and bring that back to figure out what can be done easily and what is again going to kind of require some more structure or content management system to add blogging and some of the other pieces kind of internally to the site and not having them on, only on Medium and other domains that we don't get credit for.
Cool. Yeah.
Do you believe that we're getting credit for the docs at marketprotocol.io separately, or is that not credit, but in terms of, is that being optimized for the main top level domain, or is it separate?
Yeah, it's hard to tell for sure. I mean, with those changes coincided with improvements in the ranking, but so did others. I think we should be, because of the robots file referencing the sitemaps for both, hosting them on the same host. It was hard to tell if we would do better if it was all single host, but across those domains, it's common to spread content across hosts. So my guess is we are.
Okay. Cool. Any other questions on the SEO stuff before we maybe move on a little bit? All right. Next thing that was from last week was the roadmap. I didn't do much there yet. I'm still waiting for some business needs on the other side of the world, the not dev side, to kind of make sure that I have a very firm grasp of that timeline is going to work across the board before I start integrating it into milestones on GitHub. So that's kind of pending. And I also just got legal sign off on the roadmap that's on the About page to actually publish that. So there's a few changes to it that will be modified, but that high level roadmap is now got the sign off to be put out publicly. So that's good, because they had been pretty weary about us publishing a roadmap in kind of very specific language that they found acceptable legally. So that's nice to have that sign out, or that sign off on that.
Are you going to list like the specific dates, or just put months out there, or not even do that at all and just say, hey, by this quarter we'll have this functionality? I'm just kind of curious the feedback that you got on that.
Yeah, so the roadmap that we published on the About page is pretty, I mean, it's not giving specific dates, basically. I don't know if you've seen the screenshot, but it's basically just a timeline with across years, and you can roughly kind of infer quarters for different releases and things of that nature. So it's somewhat open-ended, and it's not obviously very detailed like an internal roadmap or the dev roadmap will be. So it just highlights some of the main pieces, it releases the DApp, proposed mainnet launch, and kind of what happens after that. So it's there's only like in total, I think maybe 10 items on there, and it starts from the inception of Market Protocol to post mainnet release. So it's pretty high level, and the roadmap that I like to bring internally, or at least to GitHub, will definitely be a lot finer resolution on some of the dates and releases.
Okay. Website. Oops. It's at dev.website.
No, not right now. I can post the issue. Is probably the easiest place to see the mock-up. Let's see. Yeah, I'll shoot it over to you after the call.
That's okay. I can find it. I just
cool.
Yeah, I see a lot of the issues come by, and I try to scan them to keep up to date with that. So that's good. Questions specifically about the simulated exchange? Or can we talk about that for a moment?
Sure. Let's put that in new section. Let's just get through the old items real quick, and then we'll talk on the simulated exchange. Did I just break up? You guys there?
A little bit, but you're back.
Okay, sorry about that. I was just saying let's get through the old items and let's talk about the simulated exchange piece of it, if that's okay.
That's fine.
All right, cool. And then the other thing that was from last week was the board and engineering flow. I personally think it's working really well right now. I really actually like that we moved the backlog. It had this to-do column. I know SWR has been spending a lot of time moving cards and keeping that organized, and that's appreciated. I mean, personally, I'm pretty happy right now with where that's at. I'd love to hear everyone else's opinion and input on it. Nothing? No one has any opinion on it?
I was waiting.
Yeah, so like so far it's working out pretty good. The only one problem is that like once that issues are closed, we are not updating the status. So like that is the only missing piece in the process.
Oh, you mean the labels themselves?
Yeah, labels themselves, yes.
Got it. Do we need to do that?
I'm not really sure. For filtering, maybe it makes sense to keep track of what are updated. So
Yeah, I can see that for filtering. Okay, yeah, I can try to do that too because I definitely haven't been doing that. I've just been closing them and making sure that they get off the board. That's good idea.
yeah. So apart from that, I think everything else is working out fine.
I wonder if there's a GitHub API just to anything in that done column. We should just
Yeah.
be sufficient to strip out the labels that don't apply anymore.
I'm sure you can make a makefile for it.
I'm sure make target with a curl invocation.
I love it.
You're a neckbeard, Patrick, aren't you, man?
Just be glad we're not using Ant or something like that.
So good.
So Patrick, you're suggesting that using a GitHub API in order to kind of update the labels for the issues based on the statuses?
Yeah, I mean, we could even invoke it or make it a dependency like the release target, or we just invoke it manually. And if there's an API for this, now that we have some experience and an example go ahead.
Yeah, I remember seeing like APIs for the project boards and stuff, but like I'm not really sure like how flexible they are, like updating the labels for issue, etc.
I don't know that either. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Sure. So yeah, initially I was researching this for the idea of like whenever someone starts work on Gitcoin, right, instead of us going and updating the status from available to in progress, maybe we can have some API to automatically kind of update the labels accordingly, like based on the Gitcoin statuses that happen for issues. So
right, because we're going in there right now and manually adding the status in progress too, and then so you have to manually do the status in progress and then manually drag from to do to in progress on the board. Yeah, right.
Yeah, somehow leveraging GitHub API too in order to automate this stuff. So
yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Do you guys want to move on to talking about the simulated exchange?
Sure.
Robert, do you want to kick us off there?
Yeah. So my big question is that it's a big label. And what specifically do you want to accomplish with that? Because I think a lot of what we're going to do with the API is going to be geared obviously toward that in the DApp. And then anyone we can twist arms like on DDEX to get their involvement in to figure out, if they're actually going to give us feedback. So in that, so let's assume for a moment that, we're pretty much leading the show there. Feedback here and there from other partners. What specifically do you want to get out of that? Is it truly a full simulated exchange? And if so, any ideas on leveraging some tools that might be out there? So one example is DDEX, and I think it's either their project or it's just they're trying to sponsor it. But Hydro is a interesting API that they released probably a few weeks ago. And what they're trying to do, the net of that is that in trying to provide liquidity, they're trying to combine books from other distributed exchanges. So there's more liquidity available for the overall trading environment, let's just say. It's interesting. They've got some demo a client and also sort of a server environment out there. So just trying to just out loud think about, do we leverage anything that's out there? We're building this from scratch. How do you guys see this working forward?
Sure. Phil, let me give an update to Robert on that. So initially, like when we were kind of building around DApp, we came across an open source trading platform that was there. So EtherX, I've just pinged in the chat. So we kind of like few pieces we kind of built based off that, but there is not like much deeper level functionality, just on the higher end. Like so the asks, the bids, we kind of create orders in the DApp and kind of just list them. So everything is kind of almost static or kind of like very basic level, but like the higher level things is that like we might want to build a bot which kinds of either creates orders and kind of gives the users the simulation environment. So like down the line, so that users can start actually trading off based on the orders they kind of create. But for now, we kind of wanted to stick for a bot so that like there is some traction going on the website till we get the users, actual users who start trading. So that was where we are.
Cool.
Phil, you can fill in up anything if I missed.
No, I think that's a really great overview. Yeah, I mean, essentially, there probably won't be liquidity on our simulated beta. So having a bot to provide that liquidity is like the goal there, right? And should be pretty easy and straightforward for us to do that. We should offer a few contracts to allow people to trade. It should be very, very minimal in nature. And I think, trying to do anything more is going to kind of increase scope and timeline to a place where it'll be really hard for us to get it rolled out in the time frame that we need to. Eventually having cooler features, having a sign up, having leaderboards, having trading competitions, things of that nature is all interesting ideas and things that we should explore, but really need to get kind of the core infrastructure there of just allowing people to trade against, again, like Zohar said, just a bot. And so they can place orders. The bot may fill those orders, and they could also trade against resting orders that are already there that are placed by the bot. So like that's version 0. Simple's better. We're going to be building it ourselves off of our own market.js API, and trying to leverage some of the open source UI stuff that's out there if we can.
Okay. So basically reskinning this, creating a bot, and then using our API to enable the platform.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Again, I think down the road, there can be a lot of really cool features that get rolled out to it and kind of building on top of that. But just in the sake of time and keeping our team lean and kind of all the other competing places that we need to allocate resources, I think that's probably the best path forward.
Cool.
Yeah. So to list some of the features would be like adding login sign up, leaderboard, etc. So
after the fact, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Cool. All right. Yeah, I think that's most of the stuff that we actually had in the agenda. I really don't have a ton this week that I needed to cover. So if there's anything you guys like to bring up and talk about, we'd really be happy to hear it.
Yeah. So one question would be, Phil, like, what are we going to do with the market API, the repo that we have? So since whitelist is going to get deprecated, the only thing I see is Binance proxy that is going to be there. I mean, anything else that is going to add up down the line for that repo, like, should we even like right now, I think Robert is still kind of have some things pending on that particular repo, right? Or like, are we already done with Travis setup, the test coverage, etc.
The only thing that's really left on that is, and it has to do more with the way the Swagger templates and CloudFormation and the deployment works. That's really what's left. And obviously the Travis integration, and that would be the piece that would actually just do the mechanics behind doing the deploy. But everything's there, and it's a pretty distinct project. If we plan to add anything more to a backend API, I would suggest just leave it as is for the moment. And I just needed to get to a stopping point yesterday. I did, made a bunch of commits. It's up there. It's usable. There's a lot of notes in the README and how to get started and such. The net about that is that there's a manual process at the moment for taking the build artifact and then essentially uploading it to Lambda directly. So, like I said, I mean, I would just leave it alone, and then when we get another need, we could figure out then what to do with it. So that's my recommendation.
Sure. Yeah. So this question was majorly around like, will there be any use case in the near future that we need a backend API that needs to be added? So like, this is pointed to Phil actually.
Yeah. So there's not, but the caveat is that if we there's some features that are missing in Market Contract right now, right? There's some fail-safe mechanisms that need to be implemented around settlements that could increase gas prices of that deployment beyond where we could use a factory again. So I don't want to deprecate all of that, because we may end up having to go back to this idea of a backend that actually provides the whitelist functionality. But in the near term, there's no other need for it that I see besides using that proxy for the DApp functionality with Binance and other exchanges to access their APIs.
Sure.
One other comment I'll make on that, I think, and we'll talk a little bit more about this at our 9:30 call, but there could be some interesting functionality taking some of the work that was done there. Because Market.js is going to be a library that's most likely included on the back end of functionality for DEXs, with some functionality available in the client, obviously for doing signing of transactions and such. So there could be an opportunity to help development partners speed their development up by potentially having a serverless option. And that's kind of a secondary priority if it becomes one. It's not the primary use case, but I think there could also be something there for that. So there's work that we could leverage into that project if that becomes a reality.
Yeah, definitely keep it in our back of our minds. But again, like the time, I've already gone through some of the timeline stuff and working on that with some of the other founders, and I can just, we're going to have to be really, really efficient and focused on what we're trying to roll out in terms of features to make sure that we can meet the deliverable deadlines on stuff. So good to keep that stuff in our mind, but probably won't be trying to create that, at least for the initial release and the original mainnet launch. Okay. So,
do you guys mind if I jump off the call? I wanted to get on the subscription ERC at 8:30.
Go for it.
Okay, cool. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Better.
I'm not sure that there's anything too much else that I wanted to go over. Does anyone have anything else they want to talk about or bring up?
Nothing for me.
Cool. Patrick, you got anything?
No, just on this previous point, it looks like there are APIs both for managing project columns and issues, and specifically for removing tags. So I'm going to experiment with that now.
Cool. We can only do it if there's a makefile, though. It has to be in a makefile.
Don't worry.
I'm not. We're going to have the best makefiles ever. They're going to be so feature rich. Cool. All right. Well, thanks guys for joining today. Alec, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. And hopefully you learned a lot about our interactions and our project. And so yeah, I appreciate that. And have a great rest of your Thursday, everyone.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Bye guys.
Bye everyone.